those three dimensions of breathing, the mechanics, the biochemistry, and the psychophysiological, they're all linked in together, and they will all influence each other. The biochemistry is the part of our breathing. If we think of, we've got conscious control over it, we can choose to do something. We chose to work on the mechanics yesterday, and you chose to try to slow it down and make it quieter. There's like the auto signaling, and the auto signaling comes from the central chemoreceptors in the brain that are most responsive to carbon dioxide building up because of the effect it has on our pH of the blood. Okay, so that's what they're like monitoring. We're going to do, you can use your phone, a stopwatch on your phone, just to measure like a simple assessment. I'll do a little demonstration with this thing. Is a pulse oximeter, yeah? So like the top number in a moment will give me my pulse, I'm not too worried about. The bottom number is going to be blood oxygen saturation. So the percentage, there you go, 99. The percentage of red, is good, then it's not. Like I said, the percentage of red blood cells that are saturated with oxygen. 98% of your oxygen in your body is carried by red blood cells, about 2% dissolved in your blood plasma. You have something like 3 trillion red blood cells, basically meaning that you've got so much, oxygen's so important that it's there just in massive abundance. But it doesn't, and it's so important, it doesn't fluctuate that much. So it's like, I've been talking a bit, so it's 98. If I breathe in, breathe out, and hold my breath, that doesn't start changing. When I get the urge to breathe in, okay, I can feel, well, I wanted to breathe in then, wasn't because that went down. The signaling from our brain as to like, oh, you need to take a breath, or just the subtle one in the background when you're not thinking about your breathing, it's just controlling it. It's nothing to do with oxygen. Yeah, and that sort of like, does that make sense? That shows that. Okay, what it shows is when I get that signal to breathe, that's the levels of carbon dioxide in the blood changing. So our little assessment of that, the Oxygen Vantage, we call it the BOLT score. Some of you will have done it. You're just going to use your stopwatch on your phone. You take a normal breath in, normal breath out. So you just finish a normal breathing cycle. It's not like, and I've specifically not to use the word test. It's just like a gauge of what is my current auto setting. Like what is the brainstem saying to you in terms of our breathing? Yeah. So you just take a normal breath in and out, not preparing for a breath hold. Just normal in, normal out. We're looking for just what is your auto. What is your breathing doing when you're not thinking about it? So normal in, normal out. Pinch your nose and start holding your breath or pausing, and start your stopwatch. And then when you get the first definite desire to breathe in, which might be a twitch in the neck, or the throat, or your chest, or your diaphragm, or just feeling like you need to breathe in, you let go. I breathe in, because I finished the cycle. The next bit is breathe in. I breathe in. And breathing should feel relatively normal, because we're not using willpower. It's willpower this afternoon. Yeah? So just when do you feel that urge to breathe? Breathe in. Stop the stopwatch. So the time delay as CO2 is building up and you're not letting it out tells us as a little marker of how sensitive our receptors in the brainstem are to carbon dioxide. And then you'll have a time in seconds. You can remember it or write it down. Yeah, so if you let go and you feel, like I heard, like, so, good example, Jana, we're going to use Jana as the example again. I'm not picking on you, it's just a good example. So like, we've been sat here chatting, his mouth is closed, so I'm like, Ollie will find the same, like, as you start to like teach breathing more and more, and you work with people, you always will notice how people are breathing. And then you go down rabbit holes and like, you'll look at people and you notice like, what their smile is like, because our teeth affect the jawline. And you say, anyway, so Jano's got a good airway, his mouth is closed, I can't hear him breathing. He looks very nice and calm and relaxed. His normal breathing is not audible, and the mouth is closed. When he finished his BOLT score, I just heard, I could hear it, and you could see. So it was maybe just maybe 1 or 2 seconds you held with a little bit of willpower, maybe. Yeah, but does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, how long was it?
22.
22. So maybe it's 20. Yeah, 20 is good. 25 and above is where some of the research is saying, like, where we want it to be for good, efficient breathing and good CO2 tolerance. Can I borrow your stopwatch? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's one number. Write that number down. Is anyone's less than 10? Borderline. Okay, cool. When it's less than 10, we want to go much slower and not push some of the stronger breath holding as hard. Yeah. Right. The other one we're going to do is so that's our sensitivity to carbon dioxide building up. Does that make sense? So that's the case. You're not letting any CO2 out. And I showed you with the pulse oximeter, so oxygen within your blood doesn't change that much. So when we were doing the capoeira on the beach last night, and we were starting to feel a bit out of breath because we were doing some gradually harder stuff, your feeling out of breath wasn't because you were running out of oxygen. It was just that we were accumulating more CO2. Yeah? Remember that? The other one that's a little bit around efficiency in terms of how fast and how much am I breathing. If I can be more efficient at rest, change my baseline, I can be more efficient during exercise. And one simple part of the breathing cycle that we can take a measurement of is just the speed of our breathing. Yeah, and being aware of our mechanics with it can help as well. And we did a little bit on that yesterday. But again, this is going to be just relax, just let your breathing do whatever it wants to do. But you're going to have one hand on your chest, one hand below where your two lower ribs meet. We met the diaphragm yesterday. Yeah, so one on the chest, one just below the ribs, and I'm going to time 30 seconds. And you're just going to count in and out is 1. You're just going to count how many breathing cycles you do, but try not to do it. Observe, step away, and watch yourself breathing if you can. Yeah. When you count your breathing, it's very natural that we slow it down. The study last year showed people slow it down by 20% automatically, which is, we're going to try and not do that, but it's actually a nice realization that just being aware of your breathing helps people to slow it down. But I want you to try to not do that. Yeah. So in 3, 2, 1, go. So in and out is 1. Just let it happen. Don't slow it down. And as you do that, notice the size of the breath with your hands, like how big does it feel or how small does it feel? And the direction of the movement. Is it going up? Is it going out? And where's the movement predominantly coming from? Which, both hands or one hand? And stop. Okay, so that's in 30 seconds. To get our respiratory rate, multiply it by 2. Yeah.
You said multiply what by 2?
So that number, so you have, what did you have then?
Like how many cycles?
Yeah.
2.
2. So for a minute it would be 4. Yeah. That's slow. Yeah. A lot. Okay. It's very slow. Yeah. So what can be interesting, some tech like Whoop bands and oil rings and things will measure our breathing cycle for us without us thinking. So you can see a difference. Normally, if I've got, say, a rugby player, and we do that with them, and their breathing cycle might be 14 breaths per minute, and then we see what their Whoop band tells them for the last 7 days, and it's like 16. Because when you think about it, you just slow it down a little bit. Yeah. So 4 is low. When someone is nervous system is quite upregulated and they're quite stressed because of life, it can be 20, 22. I've had someone in a non-sports person in a corporate workshop last week, sat there, looks fine, ask him how's he feel. He's like, yeah, no, I'm fine, I don't feel stressed. And breathing rate was 24 breaths per minute. Like if I, as a bit of a marker, if I'm going running like a 10K at 50 minutes, something like that, so a reasonable pace, my breathing rate would be about 20 breaths per minute. So he was breathing faster than someone like me running, yet he was just sat there and wasn't aware that his nervous system was actually under a bit of upregulation. And that's where it's, what's the right word? I don't want to say dangerous, but I've just said it. That like, but you know, like being aware of what's going on with your body, even if it's not great, you can do something about it. But it's more challenging for us when we don't know what our nervous system is doing and is like and how it is, rather than just, how do you feel? Like, I'm all right. Our breathing, I said this yesterday, our breathing is a reflection of our nervous system. So you can get a read on yourself in a bit more deeper physiology rather than just, how do you feel? Like, oh, I'm not stressed. Because in the past, I used to be stressed about X, Y, and Z, and those things aren't in my life anymore, or whatever. Does that make sense?
I think it's normal as well.
Yeah, we all think our own normal is normal. Like we only know our own norm. Yeah. So the faster I'm breathing, the less efficient I'm being with my with oxygen coming in, and I'm wanting to get rid of carbon dioxide at a faster rate. Does that make sense? So I'll do a little bit around efficiency for us. Okay. But we're going to do 2 simple exercises. I'm going to say a bit more about efficiency after the first one. Yeah, is that all right? So the first one is, in terms of exercises, called breathing recovery, or many short breath holds. If we're trying to help someone to like calm our breathing down, or you just want to do a really simple exercise that you can really just center yourself, we take 2 breaths and then pause. And we'll start with like just a 2-second pause, and I'll build us up to 5 seconds. We normally wouldn't pause for longer than like half of someone's BOLT score, just because this pause should be, you know, if my BOLT score is the first desire to breathe, half of that's like fine, like I'm not feeling any sensation. So it's nice and calming and relaxing. It's down regulating, and we gently accumulate a little bit of carbon dioxide. And that little accumulation of carbon dioxide just lets us relax into it, helping blood circulation because it's vasodilating. It helps oxygen be delivered into the tissues. It's actually like carbon dioxide, the catalyst that allows oxygen to be released from hemoglobin. So we don't want to be getting rid of it at too fast a rate, or we don't want to become sensitive to it. It makes us be less efficient in my breathing. The less efficient I'm at my breathing, the more of it I've got to do, and the more of it I've got to do, my body's working harder than it needs to, even just at rest.
It's like your heart rate.
Yeah, no, heart rate and breathing are totally linked, and we'll talk probably tomorrow a bit about heart rate variability, and I've got a little device that you can use individually to measure it, and you can see also how when you do different breathing exercises, how it affects your HRV in real time. Yeah. So 2 breaths, pause, and the pause is going to be easy and calm and relaxing. Yeah, and just see how you feel. We're not gonna. The aim or the focus is less so on the mechanics, but just what we learned yesterday about it being from down here, and being gently out as we inhale. Just a bit of soft awareness to it. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, mouth closed, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Actually, I'll just give you a little thing to test for you. Not test, to see, to check. It's good. The mentor, Russ was doing the 6-week mentoring thing with us, and Gray always talked, and I sort of steal it from my last session. Gray, one of the master instructors, he was the first ever master instructor. He always says the phrase that like your words be careful, not careful, be strategic is probably nicer. Be specific with the words that you use. And clearly, when I say test, either some people test makes them go, right, cool, I'm going to like try and smash this test, which we don't want them to do that either. Or it can make us feel anxious, and maybe that's too strong a word, but it can just change how we are thinking and feeling. And when we change how we think or feel, there is an influence on our breathing, because how we think and feel influences our nervous system. I don't think Catherine's got. Has anyone heard of heart math? That's another measure of HRV or of the nervous system. And there's, I'll tell this story quickly because I still find it fascinating. So, it's measuring. It's got a little device that goes on your ear, and it's measuring your heart rate and your heart rate variability. So the time differences between heartbeats. So very sort of specific, and that's a reflection of our nervous system. and you put it on. It's got different colours, like red being like you're out of coherence, and green like, oh, you're in coherence. And you put it on, and you just follow like a 5 in, 5 out breathing cycle. And it shows how the speed of your breathing is really linked to your nervous system, because the guys at Heart Math will say they don't even mind if you do it through your mouth, or in through the nose, out through the mouth, whereas we'll want to do it all in and out through the nose. Anyway, you might put it on, and it starts and it's red. And you take a few breaths, and depending on how responsive your nervous system is, it starts turning green. And we had a friend over, and she's been going through like a divorce, and she came. She wanted to use the thing, and Catherine was practicing with it, and so she puts it on. She does the breathing. It's green, and then the thought bit. Catherine goes, well, so think of something that like really annoys you. She's like, okay. So she thinks of who's soon to be ex-husband, and immediately it goes red. We were doing it at a workshop the other week, and I did the same thing. There was a guy doing it, right, and he's got it green. And he's like, right, I'm going to think. And it was like, think of something that annoys you. And he's like, right, John at work, or whoever the guy, what person was at work. And he was like, no, it's not changing. They really annoy me, so it's not changing. I'm like, I know they annoy you, but you're currently sort of laughing as you do it. It's not. I was like, something that really disturbs you, yeah. Like I had it on. I was green. I thought of my dad who passed away last year. Instantly red. And I was like. And Catherine, I'm fascinated by it. And Catherine's like, but you know this. I'm like, yeah, but it still surprises. Do you know what I mean? Like, it still surprises me that, and it makes me not scared. I don't know what the word is. Part of me's like, shit. Like, I really have to be careful. We have to be careful about like what we're thinking about, because we all know if we think loads of negative stuff, or if you're around loads of negative people, you just feel worse. And when you're around positive people, you feel better. You're my positive guy. Is it? Yeah? And like, but part of for me, one thing makes me feel a bit disappointed with myself, that the technology proves something that I actually know already. You know, like when we're around people that are always happy, like I feel happier. But anyway, we're proving that like literally that influences our physiology. Yeah. So maybe think some happy thoughts whilst you're doing this. Yeah. Where did that started from? Sorry, that started from the word test. So you're going to put the tongue to the roof of your mouth, with your mouth open, and create a little bit of suction. Don't try and rip the top of your mouth off, but a little bit of suction. Yeah. But don't let it come off. Then pinch your nose and try and breathe in through your mouth. You can't, right? Good. Okay. So that means when you seal the tongue to the roof, or if you can't seal the tongue to the roof of the mouth because your tongue's got some issues, a bit weak or whatever, then, or you just never done that before, then air's coming in through the mouth. When you seal the tongue to the roof of the mouth, one, it will help with that supporting the airway, and it's going to just ensure that we're not breathing through the mouth. Okay. So even if you put the tongue to the roof of the mouth, create that little bit of suction. We don't want to put any effort in, because then you start straining through your face and your jaw. But tongue to the roof of the mouth, but then close the lips. Remember the thing I showed you about breathing back into the face yesterday? That tongue's helping you be aware of that line on the top of the palate. Breathe into the face with that little bit of suction. How gentle and smooth can you make that sensation in the nose? Following it back, following the airflow to the back of the throat. How gentle and soft can you make the sensation of the air coming through? Okay, then we're going to do 2 breaths in this pause, so you can just follow with me, or if you want to go 2 breaths pause at your own rate, that's also fine. Yeah. So gentle, soft breath in. Relax on the way out. Gentle, soft breath in. Relax on the way out, and pause for 2, 1. In, relax out, in, relax out, and pause for 2, 1. Soft breath in, relax out, soft breath in, relax out, and pause for 3, 2, 1. Gently in, soften as you relax out. gently in. Soften as you release out. And pause for 3, 2, 1. Soften on the way in as well. Gently out. Soften. And gently out. This time we'll pause for 4, 3, 2, 1. In. Relax out. In. Out. Pause for 4, 3, 2, 1. And just count those 2 breaths at your own rate. You can stay with a 4-second pause if you like. Or if it feels like it's slightly too much, you want to go back to 3. Or if you're feeling really comfortable with it, let the pause increase to 5. When you take your 2 breaths, a great opportunity just to notice where that urge to inhale is coming from. Relax the shoulders, relax the chest. The movement coming from the diaphragm initiating the inhalation, but soft. Soften the sensation from the diaphragm. And then stay with the sensations that you can feel. Like that CO2 that's gently accumulating is improving blood circulation, oxygen delivery. The 2 breaths might feel very nice and calm and easy as you being a bit more efficient. Just stay with that cycle that you're at. Maybe take 1 or 2 cycles where you do it with your eyes open. Because this is a great one where you can do this to calm your nervous system even when you're doing things in and around your life, or someone could be arguing with you, or you could be on the phone to, who was I on the phone to recently? 3. My mobile phone provider annoying me. Or my insurance company, when someone reversed into me and I was stationary and I've got CCTV to prove it, and still they think it's also my fault. Getting slightly irate. And then it's like pause. Because at that point when I'm getting really irate, I know I need to slow my breathing down, but if you're getting really irate and someone says, slow your breathing down, it makes you even more irate. But just pause. It's much easier just to pause. And then take a breath and then just pause. Yeah? Feels calming? Notice more saliva in the mouth maybe? Yeah, the saliva in the mouth is part of the rest digest, the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. It's a physical sign we can look out for. If we're trying to do some down regulation, like post-training or post-hard days of, we'll see what the vibe is like after dinner tonight, but either tonight or tomorrow, I want to do like a full down regulation breathing with us before we go to bed after some hard training and see how your sleeping improves. I think everyone's generally nice and relaxed and it's cool, it's lovely here and sleep is good, hopefully anyway, but we can influence the nervous system with this breathing, yeah? Cool. And it's easy to do that, right? Yeah? Okay, here's one I prepared earlier. The English will like this. People outside of England probably won't have had Blue Peter. Remember Blue Peter? Does everyone have Blue? You wouldn't have had Blue Peter, but basically there was this terrible kids TV show where they'd do something, they'd go, and they'd just like pull out this, they'd be like making something, and then they'd be like, here's one I prepared earlier, and they'd be like, anyway. So here's a graph I prepared earlier. Time across the bottom, and volume at the top, as in volume of air. Okay? We're going to do a 4 in, 6 out cycle. Yeah? That could look something like this. Okay? 4 in, and then longer out. Yeah? So there's the middle of my breath. So 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. That make sense? Yeah, ideally I'd have a big whiteboard. But one big thing that people don't understand about breathing, and you could take anything, take like 4x4 box breathing or 4-7-8. Like, it's 4-7-8 is good. I've seen this doctor tell me it was good. And it's like, okay, it can be. But how much air are you breathing? What do you mean? I'm breathing 4-7-8. But how much air are you breathing? What do you mean? This is what I mean. Okay, so my 4-second inhale, which has to end here, I could go 4 in, 6 out. A much larger volume of air. Or I could go 4 in, 6 out. A much smaller volume of air. Does that make sense? Now, if I'm going to be more efficient with my breathing, I want to breathe less air in total. The volume of air that I breathe in is equivalent to the volume of air I breathe out. Does that make sense? Yeah. The volume of air that I breathe out determines the level of CO2 within my lungs, and it determines the level of CO2 within my lungs determines the level of CO2 in my blood. My 4-second inhale, with my doctor that was published in the New York Times saying 4-7-8 is the best thing to do. My 4-second inhale could look like this, or my 4-second inhale could look like this. Two very different volumes of air. So the speed at which I'm breathing is just one parameter. Yeah? The volume of air is dictated by the speed at which I'm breathing multiplied by the volume of air of each of those breaths. Yeah? If we can understand that equation, you can understand every breathing exercise that someone gives you. Yeah? Obviously the mechanics play a role in whether you're using your nose or your mouth, but in terms of the volume of air, that dictates the amount of CO2 within your lungs and within your blood whilst you're doing the exercise. The 4-7-8 like that, I'm going to be probably over breathing, even though I'm breathing very slowly, or I could be over breathing, even if I'm breathing very slowly. It's probably going to be more upregulating for the nervous system, or trying harder. It's not necessarily calming as what it was trying to do. That makes sense? Now, the simple thing, this is what I love about breathing, that it's all simple. So that's like the most complicated equation you need. Size of breath multiplied by speed of breathing dictates the total volume of air that we're inhaling and exhaling. Yeah? And that isn't complicated. Yeah? The way that the sensation you are going to look out for to notice, am I making a change to my breathing? Am I making a change to those central chemoreceptors in your brain or not during this practice or during any practice? And the way that the sensation you're looking out for is the signal from the brain that you are not breathing out carbon dioxide quite as quickly or in the same volume as you were doing on auto. So I'm keeping a bit more carbon dioxide inside so that I can improve my tolerance of it, but just gently. When we do breath holding later this afternoon, and we do them hard, it's really obvious that you've accumulated CO2 because you let go and the breathing is hard. Yeah, this is going to be, the other option is being very subtle with it. You may have felt a little bit during that last exercise, but the thing we're looking for is a little sensation of air hunger. Feeling like I want to breathe a bit bigger or a bit faster, but only gently so I can actually relax into it. That make sense? Okay, so I'm just going to guide us, and then that's sort of this morning's session done, where I'll just get us to feel a soft bit of air hunger, hopefully, and your communication to me can be like heading or no or yes, because talking is changing. Talking is breathing. Talking is exhaling. Okay, so I'll just guide us through. Initially, not with the 4 in, 6 out, but then we're going to go to 4 in, 6 out. I control that speed, but you control how big or small the volume of air during those 4 seconds are. If you try and make the volume of air too small, by the end of the 6-second exhale, your breathing is going to feel challenging. That's fine. You haven't lost. You can't win at breathing. It's just that you go, okay, I tried too hard. Try to just relax into it to let that sensation happen. But feeling a little bit of air hunger is a good signal that you are accumulating gently a little bit of CO2. Yeah? That makes sense? You dictate the volume of air in a 4-second inhale. Yeah? Cool. So, tongue to the roof of the mouth, that little bit of suction. Sitting nice and relaxed, not rigid. Jaw relaxed, teeth not touching, and those lips softly together. Breathe into the face rather than up the nose. And follow that airflow to the back of the throat until it sort of diminishes. Notice as air's flowing into the face through the nose, soft, gentle, but expansion outwardly from the diaphragm and the ribs. And when you exhale, notice that you can just relax. There's actually nothing to do on the exhalation. So follow the air in on the inhale, listen to it, feel it, make it quiet, make it soft, make it light. Notice as the air's coming in, there's gentle expansion out from the rib cage and diaphragm as it's drawing air in. It's the most efficient part of your lungs, low down. But on the exhale, we can relax. We can rely on the natural elasticity of the lungs, the rib cage, and the diaphragm to let the exhalation happen. So there isn't muscular contraction at rest during passive exhalation. We can literally just relax. Trust your body, which sometimes can be hard, but just let it happen. Sometimes those of us that are quite sporty or active, we pick up injuries, and injuries make us feel like our bodies let us down. I've had a lot of injuries during my life, lots of broken bones, lots of things that still haven't even been fixed. So saying trust your body sometimes can be difficult if we feel it's let us down in the past. But in terms of breathing, it can happen on the exhale. Let it happen. And each exhalation can be an invitation just to relax a little bit more. So try to relax your face a little bit more, your forehead. Relax your cheeks. Can you relax your teeth? Relax your nose. Can you relax your throat and your neck and shoulders? Relax your chest. Can you relax your rib cage? Can you relax your diaphragm? Can you keep a sense of relaxation in your diaphragm even during that soft inhalation? And just notice as you relax, breathing becomes softer, lighter, maybe smaller as you be more efficient. And hopefully feeling, just give us a little bit of a nod of like a little gentle bit of air hunger, but that you can just relax into. And I'm going to go us through then this 4 in, 6 out count, but you control the volume of air that you breathe in during the 4 seconds, and that is going to be the thing that dictates your air hunger. It should be relaxing, it shouldn't be forceful. So on our next inhale, you can come ride with me. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out. Relax, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out. Relax, let go, 4, 5, 6. Softly in, 4, out. Relax, let go, 4, 5, 6. Softly in, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out. Let go, relax, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just stay with that on your own, count in your own head. Relaxation in the diaphragm and the rib cage. Noticing if a little bit of air hunger, but you're not forcing it, you're relaxing into it. And the sensation when you breathe in at the end of that 6-second exhalation. Can you relax? Can you soften it? Can you listen to your breathing? You can't hear it audibly, but can you listen to the movement on the inside? And can you realize that there isn't a need to take this big breath in, that the body's happy taking quite a small inhalation during those 4 seconds. And stay with those sensations and that relaxation that you're in. Stop counting, but just observe the breath. So stop counting the 4 in, 6 out. Have a little swallow if you haven't done yet, just to see what level of saliva is like in the mouth. Just give me a little nod if you can feel more saliva. Nice. Okay, and just observe. Just feel your breathing. Don't count it, just notice it. Notice it in line with how you feel. How relaxed the body feels. How gentle breathing feels. And the more you sort of practice and become efficient with your breathing, it can almost be quite hard to detect your breathing. It's so small and gentle at rest. And particularly when you've down-regulated and calmed your nervous system like that, it can almost feel like you're barely breathing at all. Cool. And then open your eyes, and we'll just. Can you just stop watching it? We'll just go back to we won't do. You can do the bolt squat if you want in your own time. We'll just observe our breathing for 30 seconds again, just as a little comparison. Yeah. So use your hands to give yourself some feedback. And then in 3, 2, 1, go. So in and out is 1. As well as noticing how you feel, noticing how big or small the breath feels now compared to before, the directions of the hands moving, as well as which hand is the movement coming from. And stop. Yeah. Multiply it by 2 to have your respiratory rate again. Your respiratory rate now, is it lower than it was before? Yeah. Is that obvious that it would be? 1 minute of, and it's probably, who knows, this is like when we're quoting like research, but there is research to show like 1 minute of breathing will influence your nervous system and your chemoreceptors. In that you're now, if you're breathing, was the breath also a little bit smaller? Did we notice that? I was observing yours a little bit. Did it feel smaller? It looked smaller. Did it feel less vertical?
Yeah, it was more.
And it was there, exactly. Yeah, yours was. It was nice change for you. And it went. What was it at the start? Can I ask?
I felt like it was more.
Yes, for sure.
Rising.
And how many breaths?
It was 4, and then it was 2.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so like halving can be quite common sometimes. Yeah. So if it's a bit slower, and it's a bit smaller, we're breathing less air, but it feels nicer to breathe less air because your body's not working as hard to just keep you. It's got to keep you alive. Yeah. And then I guess what becomes then more challenging is like, okay, what about when we're doing stuff? Even just standing up compared to sat down. Hoovering with Henry the Hoover. And then running, and then capoeira, and then hard capoeira. Yeah, and these are the things we're going to play with in the next few days. Yeah? Cool. Questions?
Yeah, I have a client that says that when he slows down his breath, he doesn't stop sighing.
When he
Slows down his breath.
Yeah.
And I know that for myself at times too, and I also know the science behind it kind of, but can you give me
Yeah.
a reason why?
To the best of my knowledge, I think that there's potentially two things going on. One, nervous system wise, if someone's this happens sometimes with people when they're or more extreme than just sighing is like they're bad at breathing and they're stressed and they're breathing really fast and and this is normally the work I do with say like corporate type of people rather than sports people, but sometimes with the sports people. But they do a session like this, and the down regulation people, so they slow down their breathing, they extend their exhales a little bit like we just did, and then they're like, and then everyone's like, hey, look, he's slowing down. And then afterwards he's like, okay, I fell asleep, and it was like brilliant, and it's like, I know you enjoyed it and you feel good and I was like, but in terms of your nervous system, what that's telling us potentially, it's not black and white, but potentially is going, okay, so as soon as you follow a slow breathing exercise from someone and that just helps you like breathe a little bit better and a bit slower, and then your nervous system gets some signaling of like safety and relaxation, it's lights out, that's a sign that you really need some flipping sleep and some rest. Yeah. So the sighing isn't as, I don't think is as extreme, but it's like that sensation of the sighing, if it's like a sighing and feeling tired, is maybe, could be a bit of that. The other one with the sighing is a sigh, I used to do one there. A sigh is a big breath out. So when we slow down our breathing, when we feel air hunger, CO2 is accumulated gently, and it's like we feel okay and relaxing, but afterwards, the brain can be a bit like, oh, I don't like that CO2. Like, can we just get back to normal? Like, and it just makes us do some either bigger breaths or some sighs. And so just trying to like relax into that when it happens. And if we have people that sigh a lot, particularly if they've got a low Bolt score, if we've got a low Bolt score, then that's telling us that there's a CO2 sensitivity issue that we can improve. And like when we do a sigh, stop, notice it. It's a great tool for people to notice their breathing, and then pause. Pause for half the Bolt score. You could then go into like the 2 breaths pause for a couple of minutes, but definitely doing a pause after sighing for half your Bolt score. And a lot of the time that's really helpful for people's awareness of their breathing, but over a few weeks or however X long time it takes, helps them to stop sighing so much. Oh, yawning, yawn. Wedi blino. He's wedi blino, like yawn. Anyone wedi blino? No.
But is it kind of the same thing then, or is it a different?
The yawn and sigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we know that there's a specific difference between them. What we know that's similar about a yawn and a sigh is they're a disruption. Like we're breathing, then we go, and we do, and often like it's a bigger volume of air, but it's very like upper chesty vertical. It tends to be through the mouth. Like with your mouth wide open, take a breath in. Yeah, I don't know, because our nervous systems are contagious maybe. But with a wide mouth, you breathe in. You can't breathe deeply because there's so little resistance. It's always vertical and it's always from the upper chest. It's definitely not calming. But it's the exhalation, then you get rid of CO2 that the brain probably wasn't happy with. But when we're trying to rebalance and restore our CO2 sensitivity, we don't want to be getting rid of it. We want to be practicing keeping it in.
And do I remember this right, to recommend then to, as soon as you realize that you want to yawn, that you stop it
No, so after the yawn, do the pause afterwards. Yeah, not before. Typically, I don't know if trying to force yourself to stop your. Maybe some people use that. I haven't. I don't know if trying to stop that urge that say natural is good or not. But we know that pausing afterwards can just help. Because one large breath can reduce your CO2 levels by something like 7 to 13 milligrams of mercury pressure is the unit, but and your normal levels are like 35 to 40. So basically, you can reduce your CO2 levels in the lungs, which affects the blood immediately, by about a third if you take one massive. Like, for example, we won't do it now, but you can test this for yourself. The first assessment that we did, your Bolt score, the time delay between your pause, you do that after a big breath like that, it'll immediately increase by 5, 6, 7 seconds or whatever, because you've just took out your signal to breathe. Like Wim Hof, Russ is trained with Wim Hof method, like a hyperventilation method, where you do you breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. You might do 20 or 30 big breaths. You hyperventilate. You're over breathing. Oxygen levels, that's not really changing, but you're definitely getting rid of carbon dioxide. And then people will hold their breath for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, not with effort. It's like, I just don't have the sensation to breathe. Why is that? You've just got rid of all of the carbon dioxide, and you can get rid of carbon dioxide very, very quickly. But oxygen levels don't really change. You're basically full all the time because it's so important.
I find it interesting. If I do it nasal only, do that deep breathing nasal only, it seems a lot calmer, and I can hold my breath a lot longer.
Right.
With less, like when you get that urge to breathe, it kind of comes on really quick. But if I do it nasally only,
Yeah.
it sort of gradually comes on.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, I think the nasal breathing over mouth breathing is going to be less sympathetic activation, probably. So depending on why you're doing it. So, but if my purpose is to increase like the hormonal response from the upregulation, then your argument would be you want to do it with the mouth. So I think this is the thing that I'm always big on. It comes from my my S&C career and Tim from SOC, who, he'd been an S&C coach long before I started. And one of the things he always said to me was two things. One was train the athlete in front of you, so like work on with the individual basis, but always know why we're doing it. Like asking why, so why am I doing 4-7-8? Why is the volume of air important? Hopefully you understand why the volume of air is important, but you should be asking those questions of why am I doing this thing? What do I want out of it? Whether it's breathing or whether it's anything. Why am I doing it? Why are we here? But why are we here? It's a bigger question. Yeah. Is that all right?
Capoeira, that's why we're here.
We're here, yeah. We're here to have a good time. Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
2 questions. What's the deal, if anyone else has felt this, that throughout the day, the nostrils would change? Sometimes one can get clogged.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're not clogged at all.
Yeah.
It's happened for me on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Both nostrils are free. It's happened many times.
Yeah.
One can get clogged, one isn't. What's the deal?
It's natural, apparently, every 90 minutes, whether it can't be definitely that, but, as in exactly that, but a cycle of roughly every 90 minutes, like it's swapping. But like you say, ideally we want like both to be clear. And the nose is a use it or lose it organ, like anything. The more you use it, the more it stays clear. We'll feel with some of the stronger breath holding, it really opens it up. There's a gas, nitric oxide in the nose that is vasodilating as well as protecting for the airways. That helps to open up the airways, yeah. But it's a natural thing for it to cycle through. I don't know how hard the science or evidence is on it, that the left one activates the right side of the brain and the right one the left, so contralaterally, and that the left for the right hand side of the brain is more parasympathetic, and the right more sympathetic. I think it's that way around. Does anyone know that? I'm looking at you. No? Is it that way around? I feel like the left. I'm sure the left is. So like if you're trying to down-regulate, you could argue that like trying to do it through the left is potentially helpful, but I don't know. We don't. I'm not. I'm not 100% certain on like how hard that science is. And I was going to say something related to it that will come to me in a moment, as I just provide some filler. Maybe that was just it. But yeah, but it's a natural thing. So like I notice sometimes in the morning, maybe this was it. I was going to say sometimes in the morning I'll notice that my left one is a bit blocked. Not always, but sometimes. So my brain is, and it's not blocked from snot. You've got erectile tissue in your nose, and that's what's like restricting it. So it's like restricting my left, which is potentially the parasympathetic, and it's making me breathe through the right. Why might it do that in the morning?
This is, I mean, it sounds like you're asking.
Well, yeah, no, I'm asking. Well, why might my brain want me to breathe through the right one in the morning?
Active. You're waking up.
It's trying to wake me up,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to cortisol is higher. It's like it's trying to like let's wake up. It's like let's get the system going.
So I had my right nose, was just like no,
Yeah.
just chilling.
It doesn't have anything linked to immunity.
I don't know. Possibly, I don't know.
I'm like big on like building the immune system and like mucus
Yeah.
in all over the body. So
Okay.
it can't be like something like that. Breath is not everything,
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like
Also
Right.
have a time.
it doesn't
Right.
feel like
Yeah.
mucus,
At night,
though.
maybe.
It doesn't feel
Yeah.
It
phlegmy.
always changes.
It didn't feel phlegmy for me in the
Yeah,
morning.
But the immune,
just 'cause you don't have, just because you doesn't feel phlegmy doesn't mean that you don't have mucus in your body.
Right,
you
okay.
know?
Yeah, and like the breathing and the nervous system, and when we show some HRV stuff, like those two things are just like they're intimate, they're linked, and the immune system and the nervous system have got to be, and basically everything in the body is linked, and everything's communicating with each other. But yeah.
It would make sense like that. So like example, like you got parasympathetic and sympathetic. I'm thinking like I remember I read in like a Taoism book, they called it like the scholar's breath. You're chilling, you're reading a book. Warrior's breath, you're sympathetic, fight or flight kind of thing. So I'm thinking here now, after like a training session, we do like some super intense capoeira or some hill sprints or a run.
Yeah.
This is an interesting thing then. Wouldn't it be wise for you to like calm yourself down after?
100%.
Because then what people do, the classic thing is, oh, I'm gonna now eat or get this protein shake, but dude, you're still in sympathetic.
100%.
How are you gonna absorb that?
100%.
Right?
Yeah. So we will do some down regulate, and the down regulation is as simple as like slow your breathing down, extend your exhalations. When we extend the exhalations, heart rate slows down, and it's more parasympathetic promoting. It is in the nose to do that rather than the mouth, for sure. Yeah, after training, after a hard day, before bed, all great times for. And like you say, and you feel that saliva in the mouth, that's a physical signal to go like, okay, so now I am ready to consume the nice food.
Steak.
Yeah. We've got the little baby, the baby brother to have tonight. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Cool. All right. Team.